Welcome back. This week we're going in focus on the new school laws taking effect this year in North Carolina. Education and curriculum have become a hot button issue across the country, with advocates and organizations on both sides of the issue making their voices known. We want you to be able to hear arguments from both sides of these highly contested issues. And so we're going to start with the rise to the parent rights movement, which aims to give parents more say in their kids' education. For more, we welcome on Bob Lipke. He's the director of John Locke Foundation's Center for Effective Education, and Mike Long. He's the president of Parents for Educational Freedom in North Carolina. Thank you both so much for joining us today. And Mike, let's start. Your organization has been fighting for some time for parents to be allowed more rights to pick where their kids are going to go to school. Why is this necessary?
Well, because parents are looking for the best education for their children. A one-size-fits-all pattern is just not working for many parents. And so we believe that since they're the ultimate in their children's upbringing and education, that they should be the ones to decide what school best fits the needs of their children. And so there are a lot of choices out there today. And in this world of internet and mass education opportunities, we just think that parents should be able to utilize any one that best fits the needs of their children.
When we have all of these opportunities and different options for parents out there, do you worry that ultimately it will weaken the traditional public school system?
Oh no, we think it will make the traditional public school system better, and that's exactly what we want to see. I think what we need to do is we need to ask why so many parents are leaving the traditional public school system right now, and once we understand the reasons why they are leaving, then we can start addressing those reasons to make those schools better. So we would ultimately love to see that happen, and we think school choice does that very thing.
So, Bob, we've heard a lot about the Parents' Bill of Rights. We've seen different iterations of it in different states. Overarching, why do you think that this type of legislation is necessary?
Well, it's necessary for a variety of reasons, but I think most recently, I think we can kind of point to what happened during the pandemic. A lot of parents felt marginalized by a lot of things that happened, whether it be masking, regulations, school closures, and then even after schools opened, controversial subjects taught like CRT and a lot of this sexuality instruction that a lot of parents disagree with. So overall, I think a lot of parents feel marginalized. I mean, there have been culturally and legally recognized, parents have been, as the primary educators of their children. That's been supported for a long time, but in recent years, I think a lot of that's been challenged and contested. And I think parents have felt the need to mobilize, and in many states, and this just isn't going on in North Carolina, it's going on all over the country, try to affirm those rights in legislation and also at a local school board level as well.
I think a lot of people who have had kids in school, do have kids in school, say, well, there's a curriculum that should be being taught to our kids. With these new rules in the Parents' Bill of Rights and transparency for the parents, do you foresee this as being more difficult for teachers to fall into this structure of what's expected?
Not at all, not at all. I know when people talk about transparency and that, they're referring to, I think, some of the requirements that parents have access to what's taught in the classroom and some of the supplementary materials and so forth. That stuff's already readily available. I think by and large, the overwhelming majority of teachers won't have a problem with this at all.
Mike, when we talk about school choice, we're obviously going to see this expansion of opportunity scholarships, which allow people that choice if they want to go for private education to use that. Obviously, it's not going to cover all of private education for most folks.
Right.
So do you see a limit as far as maybe how much of this should be happening, considering that some people can't pay the rest of that bill?
Yeah, well, imagine if everyone could. If everyone had the economic opportunity to attend whatever school they wanted to, what would happen? And so we're talking about education reform, real education reform in the state of North Carolina. Think about it. The system, 120-some-year-old system. So we're not talking about eliminating the system. We're talking about reforming the system so that it works for all families. So what if The educational dollars, taxpayer dollars, follow each child instead of the outdated system. If it follows the child, then they go to the school that best meets that child's needs, and all children do better, all families do better, all schools do better. So we see this as a win-win across the board for all kinds of education in our state.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming on, explaining your support of these issues very much. Obviously, there is another side to this, and while there's strong support for the new laws, there's also groups that strongly oppose them. Coming up, we talk with advocates on the other side of the issue.